Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending this short talk on Liberty Gold. We are focused on developing a premier oxide gold deposit in the Great Basin of the US. I will be making forward-looking statements, so please read these notes at your leisure. This is a curve that many are familiar with. It's the curve that shall not be named. Our company, Liberty Gold, has moved through the science of discovery stage. We're now in development, focus on black pine. We are poised, I believe, to realize significant value to shareholders. And in fact, this curve looks an awful lot like our share price up to the black pine point. And I think everything's upside from here, in my view. We have a very strong team at Liberty Gold, and we've strengthened that team recently to be able to give us the capacity to deliver on our development commitments. We're in a great jurisdiction. The US Great Basin has a huge gold endowment, and the Black Pine deposit is one of the very few large plus 5 million ounce oxide gold deposits not in the hands of a major. The pre-feasibility study that we released in October 24. Those are the high-level results on the bottom left, and we'll go through those in a little further detail. We have a roughly $17 million in treasury at the end of the last reporting period, and we're pleased to welcome Centerra to the share registry with a 9.9 strategic stake at a 10% premium to VWAP. That will close on the 1st of October, and that will bring in another $20 million into our treasury. That money, with the warrants you can see there, and with the additional funding from the sale of our Turkish assets, means that we are now fully funded through to a construction decision on Black Pine late in 2027. We have today 44% of our shareholders are large institutions, and we're very honored to have the big firms like VanEck, Amati, Conwave, Merckx, Franklin, RCF, and we welcomed Wheaton to the register 2 years ago. They hold a half-point royalty on Black Pine, and we have a 50% buyback right on that. So we model Black Pine with a 0.25% royalty, something that we think is pretty unique in the industry. Next, please. We've brought on Lauren Roberts as an operator to the board, and that rounds out the board skill. And the team in front of you there, four individuals on technical and 4 on permitting. We have the in-house resources as an owner's team to deliver the technical success and the permitting success. Next, please. Black Pine's located in Utah, and our second asset, Goldstrike, just in southern Idaho. Goldstrike in southern Utah. That's the subject of a spin-out, which I'll talk at the end. Key catalyst to look forward to. We're expecting a major permitting milestone at the end of the year. We're also looking to a feasibility resource update at the end of the year, and then moving into fees engineering. Next, please. This is where Black Pine is, 2 hours north of Salt Lake, an hour south of Burley, right on the Idaho-Utah border. This is a previously producing mine site that we picked up in 2016, have spent 8 years drilling out, and now we're in feasibility in US permitting. A very nice site. We have water sites secured, power to the front gate, a very straightforward environmental site, previously producing. We have a low environmental footprint, and critically no surface waters, and no pit waters. So a benign site, no threatened and endangered species, and we're moving well through the permitting process. Next, please. The resource at pre-fees was just under 5 million ounces, a reserve of 3. We see significant growth of those going into feasibility. Internal targets are around 6 for resource and 4 for reserve. High-level metrics from the pre-feasibility study: 2.2 million ounces produced over 17 years, with a nice initial 5-year production of 183,000 ounces a year. Modest capital entry, 327. We see some stress on that going into feasibility. We expect a 10 to 15% increment. But we also anticipate increasing that production in the early years from 182 to north of 200. The metrics there, I think, speak for themselves. We did a $2,000 gold base price for pre-feasibility. I suspect that will rise to $3 for fees. And the leverage, the torque these assets have to the gold price is nicely illustrated here. It is something in the order of $100 increment on the gold price gives us $100 million on NPV. So hugely attractive. Very simple heap leach, single heap leach operation located very close, as you could see, with it to the I-84. Water wells in the part of the sub-basin directly beside the facility, so we control drawdown in the basin. Key issue here, no new draw. Simple site, process facility, a truck shop, and a multi-pit operation. Next, please. This gives you a sense of the production schedule and shows those early years at the higher grade of 0.5. We juiced that by doing a pre-strip on the mine to go down to a higher grade unit to allow us to feed the heap in those early years. Under $10 a ton, all processed, very competitive operating cost, and a low strip ratio, 1.3, going lower. Next, please. This gives you some idea. We published this just a couple of weeks ago. We've got some resource growth in the margins of our resource shell. That's in blue. And we see that reserve pit moving closer and closer to the resource shell. That reserve pit was 1650. We think resources were going to float around 3,000, and the reserve shell is going to be north of 2,200. So we see this is where we're going to fuel growth in both resource and reserve. And we've got these large blue sky target areas in this range front zone, both to the north in the upper section and to the west in the lower section. 500,000 ounce plus potential here really demonstrates the capacity of this asset to grow. Feasibility field works, we're in the field right now, drilling resource holes, doing metallurgical test work, bulk sampling, large diameter columns, some geotechnical work, and some hydro work. All of that comes together at the end of this year to let us start the engineering piece. Time frame, the upper columns, the upper bars, so field works we're doing in 25, 26 is all about engineering. We plan to publish the PFS, the feasibility study in October 26. And at that point, we're 15 to 16 from our permit approvals. That lets us do basic engineering, detailed engineering, and long leads. The permitting stream below, we've submitted the mine plan of operations. We're in the second round of completeness. We expect to get to the notice of intent by the end of the year. That starts a 24-month regulatory clock to get to our decision notice, and really at that point de-risks the permitting cycle and gives us confidence that we'll get that decision notice late 27 for a Q1 28 build and a late Q4 28 metal. So in summary, what are the catalysts in 25? We've started our feasibility field works. We see us moving towards a feasibility resource update by the end of the year, which will show, I think, a material growth in that resource. We've drilled the legacy heap, and we can see that we've got recoverable ounces in that heap that looks like we'll be able to move it, perhaps use it as overliner, but moving that heap gives us some early metal in the first years and also mitigates an environmental legacy issue. In permitting, we're focused on finishing our draft mine plan of operations completeness and getting that notice of intent late in the fourth quarter, which really gets us off to the races, de-risked time frame, regulatory 24 months to get us to late in 27 for a permit decision and ultimately a build in 28. The Gold Strike Antimony Ridge asset that I mentioned earlier, we said early in this year we're going to spin it out. We put that into a strategic internal review in the middle of the year. We think we've got some complementary options to that original plan. We're working through those internally, and we will get back to shareholders later in the year with a conclusion about how this is going to work. So that's where we are at Liberty. We're a company that has a rich history of discovery. We've moved very firmly into the development space with our Black Pine deposit, and we're building capacity and capability with discipline to deliver on our commitments. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time for listening about Liberty Gold.